Shambhala is considered to be one of the best roller coasters in the world and was one of my most anticipated roller coasters until I finally managed to get on it in October 2019. It's the B&M Hypercoaster and it opened at PortAventura Park in 2012. It was the tallest and fastest roller coaster in Europe until PortAventura opened Red Force, along with their second theme park, Ferrari Land, in 2017. I should have mentioned this in the PortAventura Park review really, but something I wasn't a massive fan of here was that you couldn't choose which row you wanted to sit on any of the rides. You either had to be extremely lucky after waiting in a 40-minute plus cut-up and queue, or you have to buy some sort of express, which is a fast track that lets you skip the queue and sit in the front row once on each coaster. In other words, they're making you pay to guarantee a place on the front row. I think I'd rather them have a front row queue like lots of other theme parks around the world. So I really wanted to have at least one front row ride on Shambhala. So what did I do? Made sure I was first on park one of the mornings in the trip and ran all the way to the back of the park where Shambhala is to make sure I was first in line and on the first row of the first train that morning. On all days of the trip, Shambhala seemed to run a lot quicker as the day went on. Therefore, I feel like the front row ride I had on it might be different to the front row that other people have had on it. I think they only sent 2 test trains or something like that morning. However, I did ride it on the back row quite early in the morning whilst I was at PortAventura, and I think the back row does take my preference on this coaster. So the first drop on this was brilliant. The pullover you get on the back row is really good, leaving it a good couple of seconds before you actually touch your seat again. The next highlight of the ride for me is the turnaround. Definitely my favourite turnaround out of the coasters I've ridden. It was actually quite intense and I almost greyed out on it. With that slight bit of vision that I had left, I thought I was going to hit my head or my hands on the supports as we went past them. So, a combination of intensity and near misses made this an awesome turnaround. The next bit that stood out to me was my favourite part of the ride. You come out of this intense turnaround and go straight into this ejector hill. Best part of the ride in my opinion. After that you go back up into another floater hill where you'll then enter a splashdown where there's a water effect as the train passes. Then the ride is pretty much finished for me. A few more hills and then into the final brake run. Just thought I'd mention how good the restraints are on this as well. B&M Hypercoast restraints are amazing, and even if they do push them down a lot, you're still very comfortable with some good airtime. I really enjoyed this coaster. However, I don't think he enjoyed it anywhere near as much as most other people do. It wasn't a letdown, it just wasn't anything out of this world for me. I think the reason for this is that I prefer ejector airtime over floater airtime, and Shambhala is more of a floater airtime coaster. But that's my opinion. Surely I'm not the only person who doesn't enjoy Shambhala as much as others. It was great to ride it for myself, and I'm happy that I can now make that judgment for myself instead of being sat there with anticipation. Thanks for listening to another review here on Theme Park Mad. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next one.